One. And we are back with another outstanding episode of the Square Table Degenerates. Today we are joined by legendary, and I mean truly legendary to many of us, actor Mr. Larry Hankin. How are you today, sir?
Pretty good. So far, so good. We're going to see. We're starting out in the morning here in California.
Yeah, it's early out there, 10 o'clock, man. California. Are you in you're in Southern California, Northern California, where you at?
Yeah, Venice, California, Santa Monica, Los Angeles type of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right, so
yeah.
All right, so were you I read you were born a couple years ago, so it's been a minute, but you were born in New York, raised in New York, is that correct?
Far Rockaway, Long Island. Yeah. Well, on the
Okay.
beach. So I was raised on the beach, and when I got here, finally I moved to the beach. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Now, do you have any early memories of I know this is an obscure question, but when you were really
Cro-Magnon man? Nope.
Not that far back, but World War II. World War II itself. Were you old enough to remember?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I came in right at the end of it, I think. Let me see. What 30? No, yeah. I was beginning to become aware right at the end of 45. I knew there was a war on. We had a Hudson Terraplane car, and I remember we had to shut the lights out. And my mom had these meat coupons, little red coupons. And then the war was over. So I witnessed it for about a year, I guess.
Okay. Was your dad in the service? Did he do anything over there?
He guarded the water supply of the United States. That's what he did. He went up to, we were in Far Rockaway, and I remember he was shipped out. They told me this because, I wasn't, but he went up to around Syracuse, where all the lakes are, up north state of New York State, upstate, and he guarded the water supply, the lakes, wherever they kept the water for the city. That's what he did. I didn't know whether that was cool or not. I still haven't made up my mind.
When I was to the service, I just sat there and said, "Hey, Army guys, go that way," and then I just pointed to where they need to go. Somebody had to do the job, so it's whatever.
Sure.
Somebody's got to do it. Now, did you ever think of the service yourself, or were you in the service?
They tried to get me into the service, but I wouldn't go. I did everything I could under the sun to not go. It must have been maybe the Korean War, Vietnam War. I don't know, one of those wars. I didn't even want to know the name of it. I just said I'm not going. I'm a pacifist. First of all, second of all, I like to stay alive as long as I can. It's really that simple. And so I had to do a lot of weird shucking and jiving, but I didn't go. I was going to go to Canada. I didn't have to go that far, but they refused to take me, is what it was. I was a troublemaker. What it was.
Oh, so we're in high school and stuff like that. You were the class clown kind of guy. What was
your personality? I was a class clown, and I guess as far as the Army goes and the class clown thing, the point was I wasn't embarrassed to do weird things in public. Not get undressed, nothing like that. But I would talk loud or fall down and have a fit or anything that would get me out of the situation I was in. I was thrown out of college twice. I got back in, oh, please take me. Don't tell my parents, whatever. I just a troublemaker. Now, I'd say 50% of the time I didn't know this was going to get me in trouble. It was just, hey, I think this is a good idea. That kind of thing. And then I'd get in trouble and I'd have to weasel my way out of it.
Now, speaking of college, your wiki said that you went to Syracuse. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. Now, so and I'm doing some math, and I'm a huge Browns fan. I'm here in Cleveland. Now, were you there?
Oh, Jimmy Brown, man. Are you
there?
kidding?
Yeah.
I was there for his entire time. I used to watch him play ping pong. Amazing, the muscle rippling of just a guy playing ping pong.
Nice.
Yeah, he was big. Jim Brown was big. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever get to run into him back then? Like say, hey, what's
Well,
up?
I mean, I would go down to the freshman dorm. Nobody's asked me about this. In the freshman dorm, we had a ping pong table downstairs, like a rec room, and he used to come over and play ping pong because he was a really great ping pong player. So I just go down to the rec room and I go, hey, Jimmy's down there. He's playing ping pong. So I'd go down and I just watch him. So, I mean, that's running into him, but I didn't hang with Jim Brown. I was a freshman. He was probably a junior, probably a sophomore, probably a sophomore. And I was a freshman. So, but I just would I literally would watch his muscles ripple as he was just totally, I don't know, ripped, I guess.
He was just cut. He cut we got a lot of people from the UK. For those who don't know, from the UK, Jim Brown was a famous NFL running back to play for the Browns. Well, arguably the best player in NFL history. If he's not the best, he's top 3 for sure. Set many records and whatnot. But he quit football. He retired in his prime and went on to acting. He had a lot of acting roles. Did you ever act with him? That's a good question. Did you ever act with him?
No, I didn't, and I didn't know that. I mean, maybe I've seen a couple of the posters. It doesn't sound unfamiliar to me, but I don't remember him in any movies or linking him with movies. I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, a comment from Mike. You about you got some sick art and a guitar behind you. Is that artwork behind you? Is that stuff that you do, or is that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm an artist. I'm a painter. Well, those are prints. Yeah, that's why I went to Syracuse. Industrial design. I saw that. I couldn't go. I wanted to go out of town. I wanted to get out of the house. I just wanted to go away. And so I picked out Syracuse because I saw industrial design, and I hooked up with design. Oh, it's an art school. No, it's not. Industrial design is a lot. It's designing cars, and it's math, and it's engineering. I picked the wrong school, but I went. It's a 5-year school too, so I went for 5 years, and I was a good student. You know, I was like an A- student, so I was kind of cool. I went to Detroit. You know, they sent for me. Send us your best students. Send us your best 2 students. And there's like five colleges, 10 kids. And we went up there, and I just started trouble. That's all. They didn't want me, and I didn't want to be there. And I thought, well, making trouble will get me out of here fast. So, you know, I just like, I mean, I was doing it honestly. So again, like I would pick up, they took us for a tour, you know, around, and it's like a college up there. I mean, all the General Motors, Ford, they're like colleges, campuses, and it's huge. They took us to a tour of the design department, and they had these little model cars that all the designers made out of plaster of Paris. And I'd pick up one, and I'd go, and I'd be looking at it, you know, and the guy who running the tour, who was one of the designers actually, on his day off, it was a Saturday, and he goes over to me, he says, "Oh, you really like that, huh?" And I go, "No, actually, I think it's really a bad design. I was expecting more." Which I was. I was being honest. I said, "No, I don't like it. I'm just looking at it because I thought you guys would make better stuff than this, cars." And he said, "You don't want to work here." I mean, and I did this several times. I said, "Hey, what the fuck is this?" And he finally said, "You don't want to work here, do you?" And he said, "No." And he goes, "Okay." And he made a note of it. But when we got back to Syracuse, my teacher said, "What did you do there?" I said, "Nothing. I just watched." He said, "Well, okay." They just said, "Don't send us Larry Hankin." I thought, cool, man. So I went to my parents, and I went to my best friend in Syracuse was Carl Gottlieb, who wrote Jaws and a lot of movies. And so we hung out, and when Detroit was out of the question, I went up to Carl. He wanted to be a writer. He always wanted to be a writer. That's all he wanted to do. So I said, "Where are you going after?" Because we were graduating at the same time. He said, Where are you going to go after you graduate?" He said, "I'm going to Greenwich Village. I'm going to be a writer." I said, "You want a roommate?" And he goes, yeah, that'd be great. I said, "Okay, let's go." And that's how I literally discovered show business. I didn't know anything about acting or stand up or comedy. I was just a funny wacko, I just troublemaker.
So you just
And
kind of just basically just said, "Hey, you need a roommate," and just randomly got
that
into it.
was it. And I told my parents, I'm not going to Detroit. I mean, they were all, jazzed about it. Oh, you're a student. You're going to go to, because they wanted me to, just support them in their old age, get a career and get married and get a house. And I wasn't into that. I don't know what I was into. In other words, once I got to Greenwich Village with Carl and we moved in, I didn't know what was going on in Greenwich Village. Everybody was long hairs and hippies and folk singers and rock and roll. And I mean, Dylan was there and who was there? Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Jimi Hendrix, and Phil Oakes, and they weren't famous yet, so that's where I got in. So, but I was drawn to them. I go, who are these people? They were my age, and what the heck? So I just started hanging out. I did, like I said, I didn't have a job. I didn't know what to do. I mean, that was where I was going, Detroit, and I gave that up. So I wasn't going to be a writer or anything. So I bust bars. I cleaned up bars at 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. One bar in Greenwich Village. But I had my whole nights free, so I started hanging out at the coffee houses. And these guys would get up and girls would get up, folk singers, but there would be comedians and no girl comedians in those days. I'm talking like that, man. And so, but the funny guys, the comedians, the open mic nights, just 3 minutes. So that was really cool. And I thought, I'm funnier than these guys. So I just got up on a stage, 3 minutes. What the heck? But I didn't write anything. I just thought you get up there and you'd be funny, right? I mean, totally naive. So I wasn't that funny. I was kind of funny. But the open mic night audiences in the coffee houses were really great. They're the best audiences in the world because they knew it was 3 minutes. You get up there maybe 3.5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, but they were there to see their friends. That's why open mic night was. Why would you go to see 3 minutes? So they didn't boo or hiss, or they would either clap or laugh or shut up, because they thought if they booed me, I would boo their friend, right? So they were very patient. Nobody ever booed. I did it for about 6 months. And then Woody Allen's manager came in. He goes, "Hey, you got a manager?" I said, "No." I wanted representation. That's why everybody was in Greenwich Village, not for fame or fortune or to be in show business. They all wanted, everybody, all those people I mentioned, they just wanted representation, because representation got you out of Greenwich Village. So I said, "No, I like rep." He said, "Well, I'll represent you." And it was Woody Allen's manager, Jack Rollins. And he started booking me around, and boom, I was in show business. But before Jack Rollins, or before I got up on the 3-minute stage, I didn't know about show business or acting yeah. I was a very, what do you call it? Protected, no input in my house, no books, no records, no nothing. So
now, did your dad, your mom, your parents, did they were they happy? I mean, eventually that you were kind of close to home a little bit, kind of, or where were they living at the time?
no, they're Far Rockaway, and the only time they came up to see me, I would, when the summer came, I would go home to Far Rockaway, and I would just be a lifeguard. I was a lifeguard. I was by the beach, and it was cool. So I became a lifeguard. I had no connection to my parents at all, pretty much. I mean, my mom was really cool. She was great, but I had a very kind of a martinet control freak dad who just wanted me to have a career. He was a accountant, and I guess he wanted me to be an accountant, and that was the furthest thing from my mind. So he used to hit me around, knock me around a lot. So that's not going to create any bonding of any significance. So once I got in college, I just forgot about them. I'd call them every once in a while, rarely, and maybe sometimes they maybe would call me. I just once I was out of the house, that was it. That's all I grew up trying to do, get away.
Okay.
Run away. Didn't have enough chutzpah to actually run away, but if it ever entered my mind enough, that's what I would have chosen to do. That would have been, a wish.
Now we got a question from Leaz. He says, "Who was the hardest actor to calm down once they found out they were working with a legend?"
Never happened. They don't. Hollywood doesn't work that way, Laz. You got the wrong idea. Everybody's out there for themselves or anybody who's equal to themselves. But if you're not equal to themselves or bigger than themselves, then you just hi Larry, stand over there and just say your words. That's it. Very simple, very easy. Bryan Cranston got really pissed at me because I kept on going up on my lines. So I mean, yeah, that was the connection. Yeah, they're friendly, but there's none of that, legend stuff. That's interview people. I don't. That doesn't. There's no words like that. Myth, legend.
Well, like when say, for example, you do go on a show like a Seinfeld or a Friends, or and there's like a big A-list, quote unquote A-list guy like a Seinfeld. Do they, are they treated totally different by the staff as opposed to the rest of the guys in the thing? And how does that like work in the hierarchy kind of thing when you're just filming and stuff like that?
No, I think that's why I do these interviews. I just want to cut that bullshit. It's not, Hollywood is not movies. Movies is edited and filmed. They throw away the bad acting. They don't put it in the movies. You don't see that. You see perfection up on the screen. Hollywood is people. Just like me and you and Laz. It has nothing to do with legends or stars. The only star I ever met and it was Jerry Lewis. He drove up. We were doing some comedy western, and he had a small part, just to get a big name in the headlines. So he drove onto the set out on this ranch. He drove onto the set in a chauffeur-driven limousine, and he got out totally dressed, all cool. And he walked that way. I mean, it was just embarrassing to everybody. I mean, he just got out and he walked around like this. I mean, come on, Jerry. And he went, blah, 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 and he didn't talk to anybody. So once I saw that, I just wouldn't go near him. But that's the only time ever that anybody ever showed any kind of what you think Hollywood is. I mean, and we laughed at him. We just laughed at him. And he was, an old star. He had been around for a long time, so he thought he could pull it off. So, yeah, I just either you were a hired actor, and you go in and you do your job. It was a job. Acting is a job. And if you're a bad actor, they don't like you. I mean, not that they don't like you. If you're a bad ditch digger, they wouldn't like you. If you're a bad window washer, people, well, and that's not. And if you're a good actor, hey man, how you doing? Cool, nice job. And they recognize quality. They do, but so do you. So do I. So I mean, I Hollywood is not the movies, man. Please don't think of it that way. It's people, just people.
All right, we got a question from Carla. This has probably been asked this 100 times, but what is your favorite part about acting?
About acting, being in front of the camera and knowing my lines. That is heaven. But that's all. I mean, there's no great part. I mean, I've done, when I watch it, if I'm on some show, I'll watch the show when it comes on to see how I did. I check it out. And when I see myself doing good work, I go, oh, cool. I nailed it, or I got close, or I liked it, or whatever. Uh, and that means that when I got in front of the camera and I remembered my lines, I did my job well. That's what I'm there to do, my job well. And I want to do it better each time in front of the camera. Anything outside of that frame when the camera is running is just bullshit. And I want to go home and I want to just, get on my bike or hang with my friends. It's a job I would go in. People would say, "Where did you go?" I remember even in Greenwich Village, people would come up to me and say that. Like, years later, this is like one of my proud moments. I met Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan was a fan. He wasn't a fan, but I mean, he would. One day he came into the committee. This is years later when I was in show business. I was in Second City and I was in the committee. And Dylan was in town and he came to see the show and he came to see me. The reason he came to see me was because he said, Dylan is here. He wants to talk to you. Bob Dylan? I don't know Bob Dylan. I mean, I know who he was, but I don't know him. What would he have to do with me? This is in San Francisco, and I was in New York. That's all. So he said, he came up to me. He said, "Did you want to see me?" He goes, "Yeah, I want to ask you a question." I go, "Okay, what?" He said, "I used to go watch you in Greenwich Village at the Cafe Wa." Really? He said, "Yeah, yeah," because he used to play there every once in a while, but I went to see him once. I thought he was bad. Ha ha! Little did I know. Because I was singing, I couldn't take his voice. That's walked out. So I thought maybe he was going to talk to me about why I walked out on him. That's what I thought. That's how naive I was. I thought, he's come all the way to California to ask me why I walked out on him 3 years ago in Greenwich Village. That's crazy. So he said, "Yeah, where did you go when you were in Greenwich Village? Where did you go after the shows?" That's what he asked me. So I said, "I don't know. I went home." He said, "Oh, man." I go, "Why did you even ask me that?" He said, "Well, I used to be in Greenwich Village too, and so we all had this gang of people who would meet after the shows. We'd go to somebody's house, we'd smoke a doobie, and, we would talk about whatever. And when everything started to die, like the conversation started to get boring or whatever, we ran out of grass, whatever it was, he'd say, "Hey, where's that funny guy from? Can anybody call up that funny guy from the Cafe Wa? Larry, get him over here because we need some funny shit." I said, "That's what you wanted to know? Why I didn't show up? Where I went?" He goes, "Yeah, we always wondered where that funny guy was because you never hung out with us, and we really kind of were what would it be? Insulted. We were insulted that you didn't, you just went somewhere else." I said, "No, I went home. I had nothing to do, so." I said, "Oh, okay, cool." So that was, I mean, kind of where my mindset, and when I carried it over into show, to Hollywood. I came in, I did my work, and I went home. I went to a couple of parties, Hollywood parties, but they didn't impress me. I mean, it was not my shtick. It was not my thing. It was not my people. I didn't know how to schmooze. I remember at a big affair, a friend of mine invited me to, just as an example of that, a big thing at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. Maybe it was for an opening of a big tentpole movie. I don't know, but everybody was there, and so my friend said he was a producer, young producer. He said, "Come on, you'll go with me and you meet all the stars." And I go, "Okay, great, wow, okay." So you went to the Hollywood Roosevelt, and there they were, all of them. I just can't even remember the names of, everybody who you knew. Wow, there's that and there's that, and I was writing a screenplay at the time. I was an actor at that time, and I was writing a screenplay, and I thought, in my mind, the reason to go was to get somebody to invest in my movie, to meet the producers or a star who would, represent my script. So he said, "Well, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that if I were you." I go, "Why?" He said, "It's just not cool." I said, "Yeah, okay, fine." But I thought, I'm cool, so it's cool. So I went there and I saw this big star. Can't remember his name now, but he was a big star. And I went over to him and I said, "Oh," and he goes, "No, don't." And I said, "I'm gonna." So I go over to him and he knew me. He recognized me. I'd been around long enough where he said, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" You know, and I shook his hand. And he was sitting on a couch with a whole bunch of people. And I said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." And he goes, and I went, I got this screenplay, and all of a sudden, it just everything changed. And he goes, I mean, his thing was kind of like maybe he didn't do this, but it was like, one of those. And I go, "Yeah, well, I have the screenplay. I thought maybe you'd." He said, "No, not here, man." And his attitude changed. I mean, he just go away now. And so I got it. I got the hint. And I said, "Oh, okay, well, fine. I just wanted to ask." And I went back and my friend said, "Man, what did you do?" So I thought, okay, that's the second time. Another time I went to a party, a big party, Hollywood party, and I had written a book, a thin book, but a book. And I brought like 5 with me in a little bag. And I started to hand it out. So I took out the bag. I said, "Hey, here's a book I wrote." And they would accept it, but I mean, at a party, what are you going to do with a fucking book? Carry it around. So I gave away the 3. And then the host, he had a comedy series, Reich, I don't know, comedy guy. And it was his house, it was his party. And he pulled me aside. He says, "Come here." He said, "You were handing out a book here?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Man, what are you fucking doing? Don't do that." I mean, everybody was very nice about it, but don't. And I saw over the years he had thrown many, many parties, but I was never invited again to any of the others. So I started to very slowly, unfortunately, pick up on the do's and don'ts of Hollywood. And I came in thinking Hollywood was like the movies. It's not. And it has rules and regulations about what you can and can't do around famous people. And if you come on thinking that, oh, it's Hollywood and these are famous people, you're going to be 86th from. And I had to learn that fast. So I'm just telling you out there, for anybody who wants to be an actor or get into, man, just be cool and don't fan out, man. That's the worst thing you can do, is be a fan in Hollywood. Inside, outside is great. That's where the money comes from, fans. But once you get inside, over that wall around Hollywood, it's uncool. Yeah, Hollywood doesn't like people who are uncool. I guess that's I could.
No, it's just like anything. Like going on stage as a comedian, you just gotta have the confidence to go up in there. You're just talking to any other person. Larry Hankin, Joe Varell, we're all just random people. It's like you said.
Yeah, and I happen to be funny. Okay, so around funny people, I try to be funny. Or if you pay me, I'll be funny in front of an audience. But I learned because of Hollywood. Well, if I was a dancer and I start dancing, it's just cool it. That's all.
All right, we got a question from Mike. He says, we always get guitar questions. We got a lot of guitar fans.
Oh, okay, cool.
What kind of songs do you play in that guitar?
Mine.
Your songs? Okay.
So far, and I know 2 Dylan songs, which I bought a book. And I said, no, I'm learning to play the guitar. I'm not ready to take it out into the public yet, but I'm learning. It's also, by the way, just I discovered this in teaching myself. I mean, I'm so bad that I don't even let anybody else teach me. I just sit here until I can get good enough to go get a teacher. That learning the guitar is a great way to learn about how you learn. I learned how to learn by teaching myself to play the guitar. I don't know how to explain that, but it teaches you how to, at least the way I'm learning is, you have there's this hand with the strings, there's this hand with the strumming, and then there's this with the learning of the song. Well, I always thought that was kind of one, but it turns out when I was learning the guitar that you have to separate, and I never learned how to separate. That this has nothing to do with this. I mean, I always watch piano players, left hand and right hand. How do they do that, man? Their two hands go doing different things. And then the third thing was keeping the song straight. And I learned to separate. I got this, and I got that. And I applied it to a lot of other things, acting and just life and stuff. It's just don't pack everything together as if it was just one thing. It's all anyway. That's the only thing I can tell you about the guitar.
I can play a sweet air guitar, especially to some Guns N' Roses. All right, we got a question from Mike Rico Zorro. I'm going to compound on his question. This is a pretty simple question, but I'm going to add on to this. Do you like stage acting, film, television, or stand up? What form of, or even painting? What form of entertainment that you typically been paid for do you like the most?
Well, I guess writing and painting, where I can just sit alone and not have anybody over my shoulder. Just paint and I write. But as far as stage acting, film, or television, the one that I can do best while memorizing my lines and do a good job. So it depends on where my head's at when I'm doing whatever, acting or television or stage. If I'm doing great on stage, then I like performing. So like when the camera is running, I'm a performer. That's what I am. I'm a performer and a storyteller. Some people say I'm a poet because I also paint. So if you put stage acting and painting together and music, you become a poet. And I do write poetry, but that's not. I mean that's the audience's idea. It's not my idea. But I'm a painter and a writer is what I like, and doing a good job is what I love.
Heck yeah. All right, we got a question from Jordy from Scotland. He says, I loved you in Friends, sir. Mr. Heckles was an unforgettable character. I bet it was fun working with Matthew Perry. Now, it's funny. I was going to compound on this question. Just seeing you describe yourself, is it kind of funny that, was it the character kind of fits your lifestyle? It sounds like just a guy who just likes being alone doing his thing, not being bothered. You know what I mean? So how
that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. Yeah. No, the other end of it was that, yes. And Mr. Heckles was taken from my grandfather. That was Mr. Heckles. My grandfather was Mr. Heckles. He was a superintendent of a building in Brooklyn, and we lived in Far Rockaway. And every once in a while, my mother would say, put on your coat, we got to go visit Grandpa. And that phraseology, the way she put it, was, this is not a good trip. This is not a visit trip. This is he's done something wrong because he's the superintendent. He wouldn't take out the garbage. I mean, he was like a rich kid when he was a kid. They lost all that money, and he never forgot it. So he always holds it against people telling him what to do. So he needed a job. He got a superintendent. He had to take care of the building, man. He had to take out the garbage and take care of and sometimes he just wouldn't do it. He would just, so they would call and report it, and then his bosses would call my mom and say, hey, your father doesn't take out the garbage. Would you go talk to him? So we'd have to get in the car and go all the way out to Brooklyn and go, and she'd go, Pop, you gotta take out the garbage. I mean, you just can't just let it alone. I mean, you're the superintendent. So that was Mr. Heckles. He just had this chip on his shoulder, and he was really funny. But also the loner thing, it was easy to put that on. But I got to say, Mr. Heckles was written. I didn't make up anything. That was just written that way. And Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld were really great writers. I didn't have to do much work. I always appreciated it if I didn't have to improvise. And Hollywood doesn't like you to improvise unless you're a star and can bring something to it. That's amazing. Otherwise, just say the words, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And also, it's a stature thing. When I got famous enough, I mean, famous is about as famous as I could go with, people like a legend. But yeah, I was famous. I'm kind of famous now. I'll go along with that. So when I got famous enough, I could say, "Can I change this?" And they, yeah. So I knew, oh, I'm that famous that I can change a line. Wow. I mean, that was like to me a measurement of where I was at in the pecking order. I can change a line. I've made it. Because sometimes I would come and say, "Can I say it? I can say it funnier." They say, "Just say it the way it's written, okay?" I mean, you get that attitude. That's Hollywood. Just say it the way it's written, okay, Larry? Whenever they say your name, it's not good. That was another thing I learned.
Now with the Hollywood stuff and I mean, I've seen some of the dialogue and stuff. Do you think they just don't take any risks? I mean, at what point did they stop taking risks? I mean, because it seems like movies nowadays are just so. I mean, there are movies out there, independent films, and whatnot. But I mean, like I'm talking about mainstream Hollywood, the stuff you can see in the big screen at your local mall and whatnot. It just seems like the quality is just so. They just keep reproducing the same stuff, or it's another superhero movie.
Exactly. There you go.
It's
No. Here's a guy who knows what he's talking about. Okay. Yes, and that's the bug, man. That's the trick. You gotta learn. It's you can do a good job. I can do a good job, but that's not why I'm there. Why I'm there is to get this thing sold and out there, and eyes on the screen and butts on the seat. And that's why you're there. If you can help me pay my mortgage, which is the ultimate of why you're there, pay my mortgage, help me pay my mortgage. And if you're not helping me pay my mortgage, you're out of here, or I'm not going to respect you, or you're going to get a smaller part next time if we even have to hire you. Yeah, I mean, see, that's the. Now you can go for the legend, you can go for the star thing, but you have to compromise. You have to do it their way. You have to do it their way. If you can do it their way and it doesn't bother you, then you're cool, and you can go up the ladder. And I just refused at some point to go, no, I'm not going to do it. I mean, sometimes, like one time, okay, this is a perfect example. I wasn't doing it for any other reason except because I was there and it occurred to me. No plans. I didn't know. I was auditioning. This is in the beginning, when you're just going and auditioning. And I auditioned, and it was a war thing. And my character carried a gun, and I was going to kill somebody. I was going to bam. It was like a Second World War or Vietnam or whatever. Bang, and I killed somebody. But it was a bigger part. I mean, I had words and stuff. But the scene that they wanted me to audition for had that in it. Bang, you're dead. And I was really bothered by it. I mean, as far as going into the army and stuff, even doing a part like that just bothered me. And I think I was overly sensitive, but it bothered me. And I'm there, and I was sitting right next to the door where you go in to audition, so I could hear all the auditions. So I could, and that was like a plus, because I could, arrange it. Oh, I'm not going to do it like him. I'll change it a little. I can do it this way. So I'm listening, and it's cool. So I'm not thinking about anything else about how to do a good job in there. And then this guy goes in, and I hear him, and he like nailed it. I just hear it, and I go, wow, man, that's so cool what he just did. And instead of thinking, well, I'll just copy what he did, only do it better. No, what occurred to me was, wow, I would hire him if that was me. Wow, that's pretty good. I don't think I can do it better than him. I mean, I really thought that. Wow, I don't think I can do it that good. Because I wasn't an actor. Remember, I'm a stand-up comedian. I just went to Greenwich Village. I didn't think about that. Never went to school. So I go in. I go, okay, and Larry, you want to talk about it first, or you just want to do it? And I go, well, I don't really want to do it. What do you mean you don't want to do it? You know the guy who was in here before, for right before me? Yeah, I would hire him. He did that really good. And they were just fucking bamboozled. They didn't know how to deal. What do you want to talk about this? You don't want to do the role? Yeah, I don't want to do this. Why? I don't know. I just don't think I can. I don't think I can do it as good as him. I would hire him. So you just don't even want to audition? No. Okay. Thank you. Boom. So that was an honest. I mean, I didn't have any pretense, or I'm not trying to prove a point. I didn't come in there going to turn it down, or I just wouldn't have come. So I mean, that's how I judge roles. There was a lot of, sometimes I would just turn it down after all. I said, well, I'm not even going to go in. I'll just say no. In the beginning, I thought if you said no, this is how naive I was. If you said no, if you turned down a role, they would never hire you again. You would never get another job. That's how naive. So one time, my agent called me and he said, "Okay, I got a job for you." I said, "Okay, great. What is it?" And he goes, "Blah blah blah blah." And I go, "Wow, I don't know if I want to do that." He said, "Well, then turn it down, man." I said, "Well, I don't." Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like
Exactly.
that's anything. Like you could literally say no as a free human being. We're not
Yeah.
in
So,
North Korea.
and that's what he said. He said, "Well, if you don't want to do it, then turn it down. Don't, you know." I said, "Well, I don't know if I want to turn it down. They won't hire me." He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Look, every actor, every person has to have a no. You got to turn some of these down, Larry. You can't just keep doing this. You have to have a no." And I go, "Well, but they won't hire me." "Oh, Larry, stop talking like that. Just say no. Just, you don't want to do it. I'll call him up. I'll say no. Don't worry about it. Okay. You have to have a no." So I said, and then he said this. He says, "Once you turn this down," he's talking about this role that I wanted to turn down. He said, "Once you turn this down, Larry, and hang up, you're going to feel really good. Okay. So now, do you want to do this or not?" "No, I don't want to do this." "Okay. I'll call him. Thank you." Click. And I thought, cool. I thought, cool. And after that, I was okay. I could turn down stuff, and I just love to do that. Yeah, gives me a little control, you know.
Awesome. All right, we got a question from Angie. She says, "Larry, if you couldn't be an actor, comedian, what would be your second choice of profession?"
The first thing that comes to mind is a layabout. The second thing would be a writer or a painter. Very simple. Yeah.
Perfect.
That.
All right, we got a question from JV. He says, "Did you realize how big Breaking Bad would become?" I thought you were great on that, by the way.
Yeah, yes, I did. I mean, I was in the third year. Was my first job on that. So I missed the entire first year. Everybody was talking about it. I wasn't into watching television. I'm into my own world. I go home, I write, I paint. I'm not interested in show business. It doesn't give me, I'm not a fan. So maybe I'm a loner kind of guy. I mean, I have friends, but not in show business. I never had any friends in show business. So okay. So I don't know. I forgot the question. What was the question?
How big Breaking Bad?
Oh, Breaking Bad. Okay, so I didn't watch it for the first year because I wasn't into it. The second year, I thought, geez, I'm an actor now. I should at least watch it just to find out what's going on because everybody's talking about it. So in the middle of the second year, I started to watch it, and I was immediately hooked. Immediately, I didn't miss a show, an episode after that. I just watched it and I go, holy cow, man. And I just watched it. So when the third year came along and I was already dropping out of acting, I was already ready to quit when they called me. I had gotten rid of my agent already. That's how out of show business I was. I got a call from the producers at my house, at my apartment. And they said, "Hey, you want to do this thing on Breaking Bad?" And out of nowhere, I mean, I was ready to get out of show business, and Breaking Bad calls, and I was a big fan. So I go, "Yeah, anything." So they said, "Well, we'll send you the script," and you have to audition. Okay, fine, man, whatever. See that I would willing to anything you want. So I went in, and I thought, "Oh, I see why," because there's nobody else auditioning. Nobody. I was the only person going in for that role. And I thought somebody got fired and time is money. That's why they called me. And so I became depressed again. Why didn't they call me the first time for the original? So I auditioned, and it was a stupid audition. Do you want me to do this again or why? It wasn't even, it was just an assistant. So I was just playing with it. I thought, oh, it's not what I thought. Again, see, no, it's just an assistant and a camera and an empty room. And I just, want to do it again? I don't know. Do you want me to do it again? Well, if you want to do it again, I'll do it again. No, well, if they want me to do it again, I'll do it again. But if I don't want to have to do it again, then I don't want to do it again. Well, you don't have to do it again. Okay, then I don't want to. Goodbye. Thank you. Boom. And that was it. I go, wow, I forgot about it. So, and then they called me and they said, "You got the role." And I go, wow. So then I did my grandfather. No, that was my uncle.
Okay.
Old Joe was my uncle. I mean, yeah, if you can grab onto a relative or somebody to help you do the part, because I wasn't an actor. I had to I can do my uncle, I can do relatives, I can do my dad, I can, but because I'm a stand-up comedian, I'm a storyteller. But I'm not an actor, so that's what I went to. And whenever I got any role, I thought, who is this like? Or what does this bring up if I read it? Well, what kind of imagination do I get? Well, I was in, Second City in the committee, so I was into improv. You become a character, so I just wasn't going to go on a stage with it. I would just improv in my head and then read the lines. Like you make up, you do what you have to do to get the job, to get the gig.
All right, we got a standard question on here that we ask everybody guess this. Queen or Beatles? Who's your favorite?
Oh, come on. Beatles, but Queen is great, but it's this silly question. But yeah, okay, Queen is not there. Queen is pretty cool. But the Beatles.
All right, so we got one for the Beatles. There you go with the Beatles fans. All right, we got a question from Angie. She says, she loves the works of art behind you. What kind of medium do you use? She does fluid acrylics. What kind of art?
That's what I used to do, fluid acrylics. But no, those are those are prints, and I did that on the internet. On what is it? One of those things. One of those
digital paintings, NFTs.
Digital.
Maybe?
Those are digital paintings. So I just did a digital. I took it to a very cool art lab, where they printed art for museums. So those are They use museum inks on museum backgrounds. So those are museum prints. That's what they told me. Paid a little extra money. But you can go to thereallarryhankin.com. That's my website, thereallarryhankin.com. Not larryhankin.com. That's been kidnapped by hackers who want money. So
does somebody want? Have you ever actually? Have you ever looked into what did they? Can I ask what they wanted for it, or what they were holding ransom for? The website.
No, I never even. It was a guy in Canada, and I just said no. He wanted. Well, see, I didn't know how it worked, so he said, "Hey, do you want a website? I'll make it for you, and I'll put your stuff up." And I thought, "Ooh, wow, cool," because I didn't know anything about digital. So I said, "Yeah." So he said, "Okay, you have to sign this thing, and then I can do it. I can't do it if you don't." So I signed it. And this is way back when digital first started. So I had signed it away. I didn't know, So now he owned it, not me. He owned Larry Hankin. He does own it. So I said, hey, I want it back. He said, well, I'm not going to give it to you unless, of course, you want to pay for it. He didn't want to give it back to me. It didn't matter about the money. If I paid him enough money, I suppose so. But he wanted it. And so then my only go-to was to just tell everybody, don't go to Larry Hankin. And then I got the real LarryHankin.com and I started to advertise that. And this is years ago. Now I go, it's still up. Larry Hankin's, but there's nothing on it. It's blank.
Okay. Okay.
So,
All right.
but
Now, I know
you can wait. Just let me finish. Okay,
go ahead.
is that you can get those smaller? Those cost a lot. Those cost like $300 and $500. But you can get them smaller for a couple of bucks. But they're all 40 of them. I did 40 paintings. 40
Okay.
They're all on T-shirts for $13 if you go to that website.
I was looking at the T-shirts part. I like I can't remember the saying now from Friends, but yeah, you got the Friends, you in the robe, and you can pick any kind of different.
Oh, that one, Mr. Heckles. Yeah, that I designed that one too. Yeah, so you can get that one on there, whatever.
All right, and I got to ask you about I know you've talked about Home Alone 1,000 times, but I want to play a real quick clip to remind people because this part you got to tell me the donut story. I've heard the donut story before, but you got to tell it. But we're gonna play a 7-second clip. So this is from Home Alone, courtesy of I don't know whoever the fuck did this.
Has the child ingested any poison and or any other object that has become lodged in his throat?
No, he's just home alone.
So the donut you had in your face there. Now you got to tell me the donut story.
Well, it's okay. That's a Hollywood story. I mean, but it only happens once in a blue moon. I was out of show business by then. I had quit show business. Well, acting and stuff. I just got out. And I was just going to make my own films and paint and write. And that was it. And I get this call. Okay. It's weird. I get this call from an agent. Was I out of show business? No, but I got a call from my agent. So I wasn't out yet. I was thinking about it. And he said, I got a call. Now, this is very important, Larry. There's John Hughes. I had done 2 movies with John Hughes already. So John Hughes wrote another movie called Home Alone, and he's not directing. Who's directing? Somebody, I don't know who's directing, but a famous director. And Daniel Stearns and Joe Pesci are the leads. And Daniel Stern, they're already shooting it. It's 3 days into it. And Daniel Stern wants the same amount of money as Joe Pesci because they're co-stars. But of course, I mean, everybody knows there's no comparison between Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci. So he's not going to get the money. So my agent said, so they don't want to pay him that. Daniel Stern, what Joe Pesci is getting paid. So Daniel Stern is going to quit. And they called John Hughes and they said, if Daniel Stern's quit, who else can we get? Or should we get? And John Hughes said, get Larry Hankin. I worked with him twice. He's funny. He can replace him easy. Boom. So he said, so you're going to replace Daniel Stern. You're going to be with Joe Pesci. But now that's great, Larry, but you have to go there. You have to fly there tomorrow morning. You have to start shooting tomorrow. Time is money. So pack your bags, put it by the couch. And if they're negotiating right now, if they can't come to terms, Daniel Stearns is going to be fired and you have to catch a plane tonight. And they'll send a car for you, get you to the airport, and you start shooting in the morning. Is that okay? I said, yeah, that's amazing. So, because John Hughes, Daniel Stern, Joe Pesci, and the director, I knew him then. So I said, fine. He says, okay, stay by the phone. I'll call you back, or someone will call you back in 1 hour, and we'll know. 1 hour goes by. Sure enough, an hour and a half later, I get a call. Well, Daniel Stern caved. He's not going to be fired. So forget it. And I go, oh, man. He says, yeah, hey, look, Larry, there's other parts. This is called show business. Goodbye. Boom. And I thought, okay, that's show business. That's how it works, boom, boom, boom. And I forgot about it. About 3 weeks later, I get a call and they said, hey, and I go, no. He said, It's Home Alone. No, I don't want to hear this. He said, no, it's not Daniel Stern. It's not that. He said, it's different. I go, well, what's different? He said, look, they think, now this is true, and this is what they said. They say that Home Alone, the shooting of Home Alone is cursed. There is a curse on the show, and it's because they fucked you around with the Daniel Stern thing. I go, what? He said, no, it's real, Larry. The producers called me, and my agent, and that's what they told me. And they said it's very important that they have Larry Hankin on the show. It doesn't matter what. There's only one role left. It's 3 lines. I think it's only 2, actually. Oh yeah, there's 3 lines. It's a cop, and it's just a phone call. I go, well, I'm not going to do that. I was just up for the co-star role, and they're going to give me 2 lines because of no. And I said, well, I think you should listen to the producers because they're pretty frightened about this. I mean, it's serious. I said, this is ridiculous. So I hung up, and about 20 minutes later, the producer calls me of Home Alone, and he says, look, Larry, this is very important. We're not kidding around. We believe that this is cursed. We can't. You have to be in this, but the only part we have left is 2 lines. We'd give you a bigger part, but we can't fire anybody. It's all cast, but we can't fire anybody because of the union. You can't fire somebody to hire another guy. Yeah, there has to be cause. There's no cause. So the only thing left is 2 lines, but please do this. I said, oh man, are you serious? And he said, all right, I'll tell you what we can do. Let's work this out. We'll get you there in a limousine. We'll send you a chauffeur limousine. We'll pick you up there. We'll pick you up with a limousine, drive you to the airport. We'll drive you back. You'll do it in the morning. You get there tomorrow morning. We'll shoot it, and you'll put you back on the plane. You will have dinner at your own house, and you can sleep in your own bed. Do this for us. And I just was silent. I thought, I don't believe what's going on now. I can't get this. Are they kidding me? I said, is this a put on? Is this a put on to myself? And while I'm waiting, he says, look, Larry, here's what we're willing to do. We'll give you $10,000 to just do this for us. Fly here tomorrow morning. No, fly here tonight. We'll shoot you in the morning, and we'll send you home right after the shoot. We'll have everything ready for you. You will drive up, get in your costume. The set will be ready. The camera will be ready. We'll put you in front of the camera. You'll say your 2 lines, and we'll send you back to the airport. Okay? Please do this. I said, $10,000. Okay, fine. Let's just do this. Okay. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened all the way through. Now, getting to the donut thing. So that's why I'm there. And I'm thinking, $10,000, 2 lines, You want me to go check on him in your house? Rose, hyper on 2. I'll never forget those lines. $10,000 right there. Okay, so, and I'll send you the bill, Joe. Okay, so I get on the set, and we start doing it. And I thought, this is easy peasy, man. One take. Oh, so I get there. The chauffeur-driven limousine there's a guy waiting outside for me. He ushers me into the shooting inside to the set. It's all set up. They got the camera there. The director is there. The producers are there. And all I said was, I get there, and the director says, go get in your costume, the cop costume, and come on back, and we'll shoot you, and we'll send you back. And they're all like very tense. I mean, I've never seen a set like this where everybody is bump, because time is money, and I don't know. So I, just to dig a little, I go, before I put my costume on, they asked me, I forgot to put this in. On the phone, we said, I'll give you $10,000. And before he hung up, he said, now, we'll give you $10,000, but now because we need you so badly, do you want a prop? Any kind of prop at all? You're a cop, you're sitting on a chair, you're on the phone, it's just 3 lines, and that's it. Do you want any kind of prop at all? I said, what? Okay, what am I, cop? Yeah, you're just talking on the phone. Okay, I want a glazed donut. You want a glazed donut? Yeah, it's a cop. I want a glazed donut. That's it? That's all? Yes, that's it. Okay, fine. Boom. Okay, so I get there, and instead of going, I say, getting in my costume, I say, where's my donut? Like, I'm just kidding them. Where's my donut? $10,000? Where's my donut? And they bring in a baker's rolling tray, with all the trays, 300 glazed donuts on a rolling tray. And they put it next to the camera and they say, here's your, and they thought that was a big laugh. Ha ha ha, we called your bluff. And I just said, okay, I said, we're going to do one take. What is all the rest of it? And the producer says, this is big laugh line. Well, we may have to do 2 takes, Larry. Ha ha ha. Very funny. Okay, let's just do this and put me on the plane, okay? Again, I just don't want to hang around. So they put me on a thing, we do it, and the first take, in the middle, cut. Second take, in the middle, cut. Boom, 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 boom. And it's all mechanical, it's not me. It's all, the camera goes off the dolly, some lights blew up ahead, they're too hot, they showered glass, we had to hold it for a half hour for the crew to clean up the glass. The camera jiggled, somebody coughed, somebody laughed. We had to do it 9 times. So I'm beginning to think, holy cow, it is cursed. They're not kidding. This is, and I can see the producers are really weirded out. They're thinking, oh my God, it's not working. We got Larry here and we're cursed. It's not going to happen. So on the 10th take, and thank God they had 300 donuts because each time I had to eat a donut. So they give me the third donut, the 10th donut, and I'm eating it, and I just want to get out of there. And I'm eating it, and all of a sudden we get through the whole thing. It's the first time in 10 takes. We get all the way through. The director yells, cut. Okay, Larry, we're sending you home. And I say, and then everybody starts to laugh because everybody's holding it in because the camera is rolling. So you can't laugh until the director yells cut. And then when he yelled cut, everybody started to laugh. There's about 100 people with crews and people watching stuff. And they all laugh. And I go, what happened? And he said, we're going to print that one. And I said, wait a minute, I fucked up, right? And you think it's funny. I want to do it again. And he goes, no, we're going to print that. I said, no, I want to do it again. And he said, well, then you can watch it. And I said, I don't want to watch me fuck up, man. Let's just do it again really quick. And the guy says, no, you have to watch it. So I go over and I watch it. And I see this piece of donut fall on the thing. And I see it. And my reaction is, oh, shit, man. Okay, let's just do it again. I knew it. I fucked up. And he says, no, Larry, that's going in the movie. And I go, why? And he says, because that's a money shot, Larry. That's funny. That's going to go in the movie. And I said, are you serious? And he says, we are very serious. And I said, you're dismissed. Get in the car. We're sending you home. So I changed my thing, got in the car, flew home, had dinner, and slept in my own bed. $10,000. So that's that story. But I mean, that's weird, man.
I just love that story. The 300 donuts just makes me laugh every time. Just to see them rolling all these excess donuts. It's like a Benny Hill sketch almost. It's so funny.
Yeah. It was. I mean, and then many, I don't know, soon after that, months or maybe a year after, I said, I should get out. I mean, that's not going to happen again. That's because, and so that is that because I got $10,000 for those 3 lines every December around Christmas, ever since that movie was released, I get a nice big residual, like a Christmas gift. Yeah, it's amazing because that's like one of the biggest sellers ever, Home Alone, on Christmas, around Christmas. Everybody in the world watches that movie on Christmas. It's amazing. Now I don't get $10,000, but I get a lot of money. I'm, in the thousands, I think.
Nice.
Oh yeah, but that's also a gift to show business. Sometimes something like that happens out of the, out of the sky. You can't plan for that.
Now, would you say that's your most asked about role when people recognize you, like the Home
Heckles,
Alone?
Heckles, Home Alone, and Breaking Bad.
Okay.
And then what? Heckles, Home Alone, Breaking Bad, and Seinfeld, Tom Pepper, and those four. Now there's others, but those four happen to be, lucky me, four of the biggest sellers ever on a screen.
Of all time. I
Of
was going
all
to
time.
read some of the. I mean, think about all these other movies you've done. You were talking about Escape from Alcatraz,
Escape
The
from
Jerk,
Alcatraz, another big one.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, a huge one.
Pretty
That's
Woman.
6.
Pretty Woman you were
No, I don't get a residual. I don't get any of
Okay.
that. I wasn't
in.
in that.
Vegas Vacation. I forgot about
No,
that
not
one.
a big one. Not a big. Those 6, the first 6. The
Okay.
others you may like and they may go out, but no, those 6 are above and beyond believability in how big they are on the planet Earth. And so I can retire, not for a lot of money. I mean, but the residuals I get just from those, I can make little movies out of it. I can live here and make little movies and write. I don't have to get another job, but it's those 6, and that just lucked out. I mean, you can't pick those.
Right.
That's just the luck of the draw. I auditioned for hundreds and hundreds of movies. But okay,
now, did you get to talk to Clint Eastwood at all when you was on that?
Yeah, we hung out. I hung out with Clint Eastwood. Yes, I did.
Nice.
One of the few stars that I actually hung out with. He's a great guy, but again, he's just a normal human old guy now. But then he was a normal, almost old guy. He was older than me. So he just, now, what he has in his head and what he knows is different, because he'll be a nice, ordinary guy until something about making movies happens, or about the Republicans, and all of a sudden he's a legend and a star, and he pulls his rank for politics and making movies. He and Don Siegel were buddies, and I was like Don Siegel's grandchild. That was the relationship we had. He just liked me, Don Siegel, the director. And because Don Siegel liked me, Clint Eastwood liked me. And I would hang around Clint because I didn't want to be anything but what my character was. Now, okay, talk about characters and how you get there. My character, Charlie Butts. That's why I hung around with Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood to me was a star. He wasn't a legend, but he was a star. And I had grown up watching his movies. And now I'm going to act with him. And that was I don't know, foreboding. It was so I wanted to hang around with him as much as possible, just to get that off of me, just to get that fan shit off of me. So I just followed him around and talked to him and whatever I could, only to get used to being around him. So when I got on camera, that was Charlie Butts. That's how I found Charlie Butts. Charlie Butts in prison would have been like Larry Hankin and Clint Eastwood. I thought he followed him around because this guy in prison would protect me from being raped. Clint Eastwood's character. That was my mindset. That's what I said. If I hang around with this guy, the other guys are gonna beat me up, and this guy will protect me if I be his friend. So, but the first time I ever met him, ever on the set, I went into my cell. I wanted to find. See, again, okay, this is a 10-po movie. It's huge. It's amazing the money that went into that. And all I wanted to do was see where's my cell. That was the first question I asked. Where's my cell? We were on Alcatraz, and so the AD took me to my cell, and I hung out in there because I said, "This is my cell. I want to get used to it. I want to hang around with Clint Eastwood because all my scenes are with him. I want to get used to him. I don't want to be a fan. And so the first time I was sitting in my cell and I brought pictures to put on my wall, on my cell wall, like you see in movies.
Right.
So I'm pasting these things up. I'm cutting out. I brought a couple of National Geographics, naked African women, or Playboy, prisoner stuff. So I'm sitting with scissors, which I brought, and tape, which I brought, and I'm cutting these out and I'm pasting them up. And I look up. I'm into it. I'm cutting. I'm sitting on my bed and I look up and there's Clint Eastwood, the first time I ever saw him. And he's standing outside of my bars. And I even closed the door, And he's standing there. And I don't know how long he was standing there, but he was just silently staring at me. And I look up and I go, "Oh, hi." And he goes, not friendly at all. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Uh-oh, already I'm in trouble just from the sound of his voice." And I go, I'm cutting out pictures to hang on my wall because this is my cell, and I thought this is what I would have in my cell, Charlie Butts. He goes, "Are you a method actor?" No, I don't even know where that came from. No, I'm not a method actor. I'm just doing this. Okay. And then he walked away. And I go, "Oh my God, what did I do?" That was too cold, too quick and too cold. I didn't know what was so I was hanging around the set. So now I stopped. Whatever I was doing, I just stopped. I got out of there and I just went to the director and became just another actor on the set. I just hanging around with the other convicts, the actors, And then a guy comes up to me, man, who I'd never seen. Obviously wasn't an actor. He's in a suit or something. And he comes up to me. He said, "You Charlie Butts?" I go, "Yeah." He said, you can't put that stuff up in your cell." I go, "What? The pictures?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm the set designer." He said, "Alcatraz doesn't allow prisoners to hang anything on their walls. So take them down." So I go, "Okay, cool. So that's 2 strikes against me. So I don't know what the fuck I'm doing." All right. So I go down, I take them down. And then I went up to the director, who was Don Siegel, and I go, blah, blah, blah. I said, what? Oh, I asked an innocent question like, "Oh, why are you doing this?" Like, I'm trying to learn being a movie maker and a director. So I went up to the director and I asked him, "Why did you put the camera here?" So he looks at me and he goes, "I don't know, Larry. I think I'm going to get fired for this shot." And then he walked away. So everybody is just treating me like nothing, like fuzz, like lint. So, but I don't know, from whatever reason, nothing that I did, Don Siegel adopted me. I would come on the set because I just wanted to learn about movies. And it was the first big movie I'd ever been in. That was the first big movie I'd ever been in. So I just was in awe of the production. So I would go in. You had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get on a boat to go to Alcatraz. And there's 200 people, extras and crew and equipment every morning. And if you missed the 8 o'clock bus or the 7:30 bus, the boat, you had to wait until 2, until they had to send a boat for you, which was very bad. You get fired for that. They had to send a boat for you because you missed the morning boat. Or the 12 o'clock CEO's boat, the suits boat. There was a special boat for anybody from the producers who didn't want to get up early. They had a 12 o'clock boat only for, the head honchos. So you got on that, you would get a really hollering. If you would take the 12 o'clock boat, you'd be docked or fired. They'd holler at you. So I would get on the boat. I'd make the boat every day. every morning, whether I was on the shooting list or not, in costume, in my blue shirt, jeans and the black shoes and the white socks. And I'd get on. And Don Siegel would see me there every day. I would just stand by the camera or walk around or look around. So he would go and he'd start to do this. And I was there for 3 months on that island. And every day or every other, he'd go, Larry, get in the shot. And I go, what am I doing? He said, I don't know what you're doing. Just get in there. We need a body. And he would put me in every shot that he could or that it was needed. I mean, there was a reason for it. But that's how I got I have co-star billing. I wasn't hired for co-star billing. I was hired for a guy,
Right.
Charlie Butts. Don Siegel and Clint Eastwood gave that to me. When I saw the movie, they didn't even tell me about it. They didn't tell my agent either. When the movie was released, co-starring Larry Hankin. What? So if I had known that, I would have been even more nervous doing the movie. The 3 months I was there.
What was the weather like out there when you were shooting this movie?
It was fine. It was fine. It was during the summer. There was no bad weather. The first shot where there was rain, Clint Eastwood comes on the boat and it's raining. That's the first shot under the credits. That rain was Hollywood produced. They hung, that was all pipes, huge pipes. I mean, I would stand, it was the day that I arrived. I arrived at night and they had these pipes up and it was over the dock. I mean, it was there. And the weird thing that I would like to do that first day was I would stand right by the camera, which wasn't in the rain. The rain was about 100 feet away, but it was covered. The boat had to pull into this rain. And I would look up and the sky was clear. You could see stars. And then I'd look over here and it was pouring rain. And I couldn't believe I said, this is Hollywood, man. This is what Hollywood is all about, man. Well, that was that shot. So I was trying to just be there every day, just learn, just learn it. I wanted to be a good actor. I mean, as long as I was here, and it was a good part. It was a great part. Again, I didn't have to improvise. It was all written. And Tuggles, Richard Tuggles, who wrote the movie, was younger than me at the time. He was about 20 or 25. And so both of us just hung around starstruck. I mean, in awe of the expenses and the creations that were being, fucked. They were fucking with the prison Alcatraz. That's what Hollywood was doing. And the last story I'll tell you about it is that the Smokies, there was a big battle going on that island. And it was sub rosa, but it was very strong. The Smokies, the guys who were running the tours without Hollywood, just the tours of Alcatraz, they wore smoky hats and they were in smoky uniforms. And they were official. They were government employees, and they ran tours through it. And the deal that Hollywood had to make was that they couldn't disturb the tours, so that if a tour came through, we had to stop production and let the tour go through. The tours took precedence. Hollywood is a national monument. Alcatraz is a national monument. So they had to get permission from the government. Okay, so that was the deal. So when a tour came by, we had to stop in the middle of a scene. Stop, cut. Okay, stand back. Okay, well, we were there for a month. And then word got out all over the United States that Hollywood was shooting out on Alcatraz. So when the tours came by, the Smokies found out and heard that the tourists didn't want to know where Al Capone's cell was. They wanted to know where Clint Eastwood's cell was. And that pissed off the Smokies no end. And they brought it up with the government. And they said, hey, man, they're just ruining the entire whole thing about National Monument. You got to get them out of there. So the Smokies, as a way of striking, they would run tours wherever we were. We'd set up the camera, we'd start a scene and cut, tour. Okay, take it out. Cut, tour. And they just kept doing that. And Don Siegel and Clint Eastwood and the Smokies and the head of the Smokies, and they were like at it, man. And well, the production company and the government were at it. So they were talking. So what's going on? So we had to cut down and we had to shut down for 2 days while they discussed it. And what they agreed was, okay, we'll shoot in other parts where they don't, we'll just pick out places where there no tours. So they had to change a lot of things. And then, yeah, so that was going on while we were shooting the movie for about, at least 3 weeks of cut, let the tour go through. And neither side would give in, you know. The Smokies would just, fuck you, man. And we would just set up, okay, you want to run the tour through here? Screw you. We're going to set it up and you're going to have to shut us down. It was just that kind of fighting, but not overt. It was passive aggressive. Yeah.
Now, have you been back to Alcatraz since then?
No, but I just had dinner with Richard Tuggles or lunch with Richard Tuggles last week. First time since Alcatraz. And we talked about it. And he said, Escape from Alcatraz, the movie, is shown there now as part of the exhibit. I am part of the exhibit. Well, Alcatraz is the movie. It's shown there. You can sit and watch it. They have an auditorium and you can sit and watch the movie. And they have cards and everything. So Richard was blown away by that. Like, I haven't seen him since we shot the movie. And here's like, this is something about life. Nothing to do with anything we've talked about life. I haven't seen Richard Tuggles. He was younger than me when we took it. He was about 20, 25. I haven't seen him since then. I meet him for lunch, and Richard Tuggles is old. My image of him was 25. I haven't seen him since then. He's got back problems. He's got wrinkles. His hair is. He's old. He's an old guy. He's like my grandfather. Well, not like my grandfather when I was a young little boy, but that kind of. Now I'm older than him, so I couldn't put the two together. I wasn't expecting him to be, even older. I wasn't even expecting him to be 35. I was expecting him to be 25. And then finally, as we talked and had dinner, of course, our ages got together, so we kind of meshed, and then we were just two guys talking about Alcatraz, and stuff.
That's
and
awesome.
What are you doing now? And blah blah blah. Yeah,
we got a question for Angie. She says, Oscar nomination for Best Short Film Live Action, Sully's Diner, 1980. Can you talk about that experience?
Perfect segue. That the money I got from doing Escape from Alcatraz gave me Sully's Diner. Sully's Diner was made with the money I did, $35,000. I got $35,000 for doing Escape from Alcatraz. I paid off all my debts and bought a car for $5,000, a transportation vehicle, and the rest of the money I just blew on Escape from on Sully's Diner, or at least $20,000 of it. $20,000. That's what it ultimately cost. So I waited, and I didn't want to. Do you want to know about Sully's Diner? Is that basically?
Yeah, it was the question. She wants to know about the movie.
Well, okay. It was unique because it was the first movie that I ever made, my first film short, and it was also the first money I ever had to make a film short from Escape from Alcatraz. And I was acting with a woman named Anna Matthias, who her husband at the time, they got divorced. She's married to another guy now, Alan Sherman. But her husband, oh man, I forgot his name. Remember everybody's name, but the guy He was a cinematographer. Her husband was a cinematographer. Harry Mathias. And so she came to me. We were both in the committee. She's an actress, and we were both in the committee improvising. So I saw her every night, and she said, my husband is a camera operator, big time, and he wants to get in the union, cinematographer's union, but he needs a credit. He has to, a cinematographer, run a movie to get a credit to be in the union. So why don't you write a movie, and he can be the cinematographer, and he can get in the union, and you'll have a film short, and you can be the star in it because you're writing it. So you'll have your chops and everything. So I thought that was a good idea. So I wrote something about 30 pages long, Sully's Diner, a place where I ate all the time. That was where I ate, and I was the only customer. So I thought, well, he'll let me shoot here. Nobody else is coming here. So that's exactly what happened. I said, hey, I want to shoot a movie here for 3 days. It was right around the corner from where I was renting an apartment. So he said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. So I gave him some money, I think $100 a day or something. I don't know, $200-300 a day. And we shot there. And that also went down the tubes because on the third day, the camera jiggled. I didn't know about cameras jiggling. And we shot an entire day there. And when we saw the rushes the next day, the last day, we couldn't use any of it because it was all over the place. The camera was just moving it. So I had to go back to him and say, hey, I need another day. And he said, well, because he suddenly realized, Sully was his name. Sully realized, hey, these guys have money. They're making movies. I'm going to get rich off of these kids. So he said, oh, well, I had another Hollywood movie came to see me. They want to shoot their movie here tomorrow. So I can't let you do it. I go, what do you mean? I mean, nobody. This is not in Hollywood. This was, somewhere, near Hollywood. Hollywood, what is it called? Hollywood adjacent. So I said, what do you mean? He said, yeah, they're going to close down the street. They're going to shoot here in my diner. They're giving me $3,000 to shoot here. I thought, I don't have $3,000. Well, you have to pay me something. Not $300. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. And he said, well, okay, I'll take $300. Okay. Yeah.
They gave him a poker.
I learned how to negotiate. Just give up. So that's how I shot it. Then it took 4 days. And it got an Academy Award nomination. And I wasn't in my mind at all. I didn't even want to hand it in. I thought it wasn't good enough. So that was another off-the-wall thing. I think my career, now that I'm listening to myself talking to you, my whole career was a lot of off-the-walls weirdness that just random stuff that may or may not happen. Again,
speaking of random, do you have any fish or pets? If you do have any fish, freshwater or saltfish, do you have?
Well, I used to have a 50-gallon tank of water in my living room when I was rich and really making money as an actor in this really cool apartment. When the earthquake hit, the 1990-something earthquake hit and exploded the gas tank, blowing fish and water all over the place, moving my bed all the way around. It happened at night. And my friend was sleeping on my couch, and the fish tank was right behind him. That was the back of the couch, and the couch faced what do you call it? In the old where you can put your TV and your books and everything. It was a thing that came.
Entertainment center.
Entertainment center, exactly. Cool. Was right in front of him. The couch faced that, and the fish tank was on the wall behind. And when the earthquake hit at like 2 a.m. or something, it went like that. The entire house went like that, the apartment house. And my bed, I was sleeping in my bed, and it was shaking all around the room. It was just going all around the room. And I just hung on to the mattress and what the fuck? But I heard boom in the other room. And when it stopped, I ran into the other room. I couldn't see much. We ran out of the building. That's what we did. We ran out of the building in our pajamas out onto the street where everybody else was. And we waited until the light came up before we went back into the building. And my entire apartment was wrecked. But what was the saving grace of the whole thing about fish, fresh or salt, or pets? I had a cat for a pet and the fish. Fish were all over the living room floor. They're all dead by now. And a lot of expensive fish all over. But the couch that he was sleeping on was covered in glass, and the entertainment section caved in this way over the couch, and the fish tank, the glass exploded this way.
Oh.
So my friend said he was sleeping on the couch, and my pet cat was sleeping on his chest. And right before the earthquake hit, and he had a blanket, thin blanket on him. And right before the earthquake hit, the cat went "Wow," and dug its claws into his chest through the blanket, which woke him up. And when it started to shake, he jumped off the couch just as they exploded on him. So the cat saved his life because he would have been crushed by the entertainment section.
Oh, wow.
So I had a cat. I used to have a dog, and the fish were all over the place. I never had any kind of pet after that. It just killed my whole desire for any kind of living thing. The cat, I think, escaped, by the way. I never found the cat after that. Not the dead body or anything. I think it just ran.
Okay.
So that's the question.
Here's a couple more before we get out of here. The bathroom. This is a good segue into the. Is that a prop they just took it away from you when you're done with friends, or do you get to keep any of those bathrobes? Is all prop?
I have the slippers. I kept the slippers. They gave them to me. I said, "Can I have them?" Because they didn't have any slippers. They go,
Okay.
"Come home." So I said, "Hey, can I keep these?" They go, "Oh yeah, sure." But that was for the special, the 40 years, the 10 years, the whatever.
Reunion or whatever? Yeah.
The reunion. When I went to the reunion, they had the costume. They didn't have his bathrobe. They lost it. So they just had to get another bathrobe and another pair of slippers. So the slippers I have is from the reunion, but I have the slippers. No, I didn't keep any of the bathrobe from the show. I didn't get along with any of them, any people on the show. I kind of kept to myself, but they huddled up, the stars of that show, the leads, and the producers. That they didn't deal with me. I didn't deal with them. I dealt with the crew. I generally hang around with the crew. They're my people.
Same way too, like just because you always want you see somebody standing around with a boom mic or whatever, you kind of wonder like, all right, what's that guy do when he's not working?
Yeah.
I always wondered that myself too.
And also they have a lot more free time than the actors. Well, the actors go into their dressing rooms, but the crew have to stay on the stage. So even if they're not working, they're standing around watching. You can just stand with them and watch with them, or they play cards and you play cards with them. I play cards with the crews. That's who I hung out with. The crews are amazing.
What's your favorite card game? Do you play with these guys?
Oh, poker. Just poker.
Okay. All right, one more question before we get out of here. We got a question from Angie. She says, not sure if this is asked already. Larry, who inspired you when you were young to become? Was there any inspiration, or would you just kind of fall backwards into it?
No, I mean when I was growing up, I hung around, or I followed, was a fan of comedians. Milton Berle, that was my hero. Milton Berle and anybody any comedian who appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, those kind of people. I wasn't into Hollywood. I wasn't into movies. When I grew up and I was in Greenwich Village, I watched a lot of foreign movies because there's a foreign movie house right, and I had my nights free. So it was open mic nights, 3 minutes, and I'd go watch a foreign movie. So I watched all the foreign movies. I was into the French New Wave because I had time. But I wasn't into Hollywood or acting at all. It never entered my mind. That's what blows my mind, that I became this famous guy when growing up, and all the people around me, that's all they wanted to be was famous actors. It never entered my mind until after I graduated college. I mean, I was in plays in high school, and one or two in college, but there was something to do. I had extra time. My friends would do it, so I would do it. It's not that I had a dream to do it. So I don't understand it to this day, talking to you, really how I got into show business. Milton Berle.
Milton Berle's awesome, man. Now, when was the last question before we get out of here? When was the last time you did a stand-up, any kind of open mic, and would you ever consider doing it again?
Oh, I'd love to do it again. That's what I want to do. I'm writing a book now. I wrote a book called, okay, this is the last commercial. We're going off the air, but 2 questions. I'll answer your question and the book. You can buy my T-shirts, my paintings, and my book. It's called That Guy. Why is it called That Guy? Because everybody I see who sees me on the street goes, oh, you're that guy from Breaking Bad. Oh, wow. Hey, he's the guy from, this is Mr. Heckles, that guy from, yeah. So I call it That Guy. So in That Guy, I tell this story. But okay, so now you wanted to know, what was the question again?
Oh, stand-up. When would you, when was the last time you did stand-up, and would you do stand-up again?
Right. So all I want to do, that's all I want to do is now. So I'm writing a book, so you can get the book, That Guy, on the real Larry Hankin. And this book that I'm writing now will also be on the real Larry Hankin. But in it, there are parts of it that are stand-up material. I want to do it. So when I finish this book, I'm going back on the stage. I'm going to become a stand-up comedian. That's what I love doing.
Hell yes.
Yeah, hell yes, exactly.
Dude, that's awesome. Now, I'll tell you what, if I'm big enough by then, because I'm getting back in the room my damn self, because I can only sit in the house so much, and we're putting together some shows. So if I'm out there, cool. I'm going to look you up. I'm going to be like, yo, Larry, remember Joey Edibles from YouTube? We talked about all that random stuff. Let me come say hi.
Yeah, okay. So in LA, there's places to do that now. But here's the difference. And because I'm in touch, I stay in touch with my stand-up people.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So here's the skinny on what's going on now, which is different. So you got to get this down. Okay. Stand-up is very popular. Again, it's now flourishing and open, but it's not the old type of stand-up. It's real stuff that happened to you. You can't do any bits about, hey, did you see the commercial last week? Where? Or you can't do, hey, take my wife, please. Or your husband-wife shtick. Or no, it's got to be heart stuff. It's got to be funny because it happened to you and you lost your arm. I'm serious, man. Oh, yeah. That's where it's going. I go to these. I watch my friends. I say, hey, when you go do a stand-up, let me know. So I go see them, and what they have is the same thing. It's 3 to 5 minutes. Now I think it's 5 minutes. If you do a good 5 minutes, you're invited, and you can do 10, and then you're invited back if your 10 is successful. Oh, and also here's another thing, which is really weird. Your first 3 minutes can be okay, whatever you want to do. But mainly, you have to write it out and submit it. You can't just get up on the stage and sign your name and you're next. You have to submit it in writing, 3-minute little piece, and if they like it, you can do it. And then after that, after the 10-minute, so 1, 2, and then the third time you can do whatever you want. You pass. But it has to be heart stuff and real stuff and dangerous stuff. It could be funny, but it doesn't have to be. As long as it's stand up and you can't read anything, you have to do it. But I
learned that lesson the hard way. Never read from the sheet of paper. They will not pay attention to you at all.
Yeah,
funniest joke in the fucking world. Don't ever read from the paper, bro. Yeah.
Well, now I've watched stars, real comedians. Carlin, Lenny Bruce, not Lenny Bruce. He was just off the top of his head. But Carlin, Pryor, a lot of the guys new nowadays. Yeah, when they're out on the road making up material for television, they'll take notes. You know, they'll hold up little things and read off of it. Blah 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 blah. blah. They'll take notes up there, but they don't do it when they're ready to do prime time. Then they remember. But okay, that's, I guess, what we talked about. A lot of stuff I never talked about before.
That was
So
beautiful.
cool.
That's what I try to do. I don't like to like get the, because I mean, people like you have been interviewed 1,000 times. You know what I mean? And you've heard 100 stories. Hey, what's Jared like? And I mean, so I like to get questions that, interest me, honestly, and may interest you. I haven't been asked 1,000 times. We touched on some awesome stories. I would like to thank you so much, Mr. Larry Hankin.
Oh, thank you. And thank your fans, your people who write in. They're great questions and stuff.
Oh, they work. Yeah, thank you to the chat as well. We had up to 30 people watching it. Wow, it was
Yeah.
awesome, man. One of the best shows we've done in a hot minute, guys. Thanks for coming out. Be sure to visit thereallarryhankin.com. I'm probably going to get a shirt. Check out that book, all that art. If you want some of that art too, knock it out, man. And be sure to join us Monday. We'll have the wrestler on, Just Incredible. It was supposed to be on a couple times, but he got canceled. And again, thank you so much, Mr. Larry Hankin. Appreciate it, guys.
Okay, bye. Take it easy.
Later.